Year after year after year, it seems we keep getting basically the same old Galaxy S Ultra. At this point, the fundamentals of Samsung's most expensive non-folding phone have barely changed since 2021. But Samsung might be about to upend that in a big way with the S25 Ultra, and we've already got some pretty interesting leaks and rumours to pore over, despite the fact the phone itself likely won't be breaking cover until at least January 2025. So let's not waste any more time. I'm Alex Toby, this is XDA, let's jump in. First up is the design, and this is one area where, over the past 3 years of Ultras, Samsung has leaned ever more into the very sharp, angular design language that used to be the trademark of the Galaxy Note series. And it's a trend we also saw continued into this year's Fold 6. But there are already signs that this could be changing going into 2025, with reliable leakers on social media like Ice Universe suggesting the chassis will be as rounded as the old Galaxy Note 7. Hopefully that'll be the only characteristic the S25 Ultra shares with that model, but if so, this could be the most interesting and substantial design change in years, and one that sees Samsung acknowledge some of the more interesting industrial design work done by its mainly Chinese rivals. Perhaps some sweeping design changes aren't a huge surprise though, given that this is the first Galaxy S flagship with significant input from the new Samsung MX design team leader, Hubert Lee, who joined from Mercedes-Benz in late 2022. And leaks dating back to the end of 2023 point to a significant redefinition of the Galaxy brand under his leadership. With that in mind, it's not clear whether the curved edge display might be making a return, and for my part, I kinda hope it isn't, because it makes finding and fitting a decent screen protector both expensive and quite annoying. But even if it is just the middle frame and two-dimensional glass parts that are becoming softer and more rounded, I think that is an ergonomic win. Same too for the apparent shaving of a few millimeters off the thickness of the S25 Ultra compared to its immediate predecessor. That could possibly be helped along by the use of a higher grade titanium in the S25 Ultra compared to the S24, though reports around that particular aspect of design are sketchy. Either way, let's be honest, the imposing monolith-like shape of the S24 Ultra may look striking, but those sharp corners and thick proportions are not a great match for the human palm. While we're celebrating a potential ergonomic victory though, the screen size of the S25 Ultra may also give us cause for concern. That's because of the rumored bump up to a 6.9-inch display diagonal. However, I'll note the 6.9-inch figure could depend quite heavily on how curved the screen is and how much Samsung has been able to trim down on those screen bezels. So you might not necessarily need to worry that the S25 Ultra will be significantly larger in terms of its overall footprint. That 6.9-inch measurement, by the way, would also match what we're expecting to see from Apple's iPhone 16 Pro Max, as it seems both brands are giving each other the green light to go even bigger for the next round of flagship handsets. That new Samsung display should build on the already industry-leading screen in the Galaxy S24 Ultra, with its phenomenal Gorilla Armor panel for amazing reflection-cancelling capabilities. And the panel's peak brightness has been reported to reach as high as 3000 nits according to one source, which would really just be gravy on top of what is already an absurdly great panel. Samsung's Ultra camera experience has been a big selling point for these phones for as long as they've existed, but lately we've only really seen baby steps forward from one generation to the next in terms of imaging performance. So it's reassuring to see that Samsung might be addressing some of these criticisms in its next-gen cameras. According to Chinese Twitter leaker Ice Universe, who has a pretty strong track record with these sorts of things, Samsung will be updating both its ultra-wide and 3x telephoto cameras in the upcoming S25 Ultra, specifically to a 50 megapixel resolution that should make both more consistent across a longer range of focal lengths. That intermediary 3x shooter in particular is an absolutely ancient part that right now is more than due for an upgrade. And more recently, the announcement of a brand new 200 megapixel Samsung image sensor, the ISOCELL HP9, has fueled speculation that it could be heading to the S25 Ultra. This sensor is smaller on paper than the S24 Ultra's ISOCELL HP2SX, a 1 over 1.4 inch part versus 1 over 1.3. However, the new model includes several optimizations designed to reduce noise and improve light capture. So some decent upgrades elsewhere in the camera system, but if you're hoping for something like one of the crazy 1-inch main sensors we've seen from some Chinese flagships, you'll need to keep waiting at least another year. The next big reason to get excited about the Galaxy S25 Ultra might be its processor, with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 4 looking like being a milestone chip for Qualcomm. It's worth pointing out that all the leaks we've seen so far do indeed point to an Exynos 2500 processor, sticking around for the regular S25 and S25 Plus in some countries, but with Samsung once again relying on Qualcomm for the highest performing chip in its lineup across the entire world. So what's going to be so special about Snapdragon 8 Gen 4? Well, all signs point to it being the first smartphone SoC to use Qualcomm's ultra-high-performance Oryon CPU cores. That's the computational secret sauce that makes its Snapdragon X Elite PC chips as fast and efficient as they are. And these cores, at the heart of the next-gen Galaxy flagship, could provide a big leap in terms of both power and efficiency, especially for gaming and things like the DeX desktop mode. And if some leaks are to be believed, it could finally see Qualcomm really bring the heat to Apple in this area, potentially even challenging the GPU performance of some of its mid-level M-series chips. The other side of that equation is battery life and charging speeds, and that's one area where Samsung has been at a bit of a disadvantage implicitly compared to its rivals. That's because, unlike other brands, it has to fit its S Pen into the body of the phone. Everyone else has that precious internal real estate to put towards space for a bigger battery or more powerful cooling apparatus. That's why we've seen Samsung remain pretty conservative with battery capacities over the past few years. We've been at 5,000 mAh since the S21 Ultra 3 years ago. And although some earlier sketchier leaks had suggested a bump to 5,500 mAh, the most recent report we have from Ice Universe suggests no movement from Samsung on either battery capacity or charging speeds in the S25 Ultra. One of the spicier rumors doing the rounds has been around Qi 2 charging support potentially in the S25 series, which is MagSafe basically. Apple has been working with the Wireless Power Consortium to make this an open standard for the past year or so. The original source for this rumor though is difficult to pin down, and I'm pretty skeptical. Don't get me wrong, it'd be great if we finally saw Qi 2 in a leading Android flagship like the S25 Ultra, but we know from experience with MagSafe accessories on earlier S Ultras that it's difficult to do this without breaking the S Pen functionality, so we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. Finally, Galaxy S25 Ultra software, and this is one area where I think we have the least solid information to go on. At the time we're making this video, the One UI 7 beta program should be launching in the coming weeks, and when it does, we'll have full hands-on coverage of all the big changes in that version. So if you're watching from the future and we've already made that video, then go take a look. Otherwise, the few clues you have to go on point to some minor icon and visual changes in the next iteration of Samsung's interface, which should be based on Android 15. Not sure how excited I can get about slightly different squircle-looking icons, but I'm sure they're likely to be part of some wider visual changes that will become apparent once the S24 series gets its first One UI update. One thing you definitely expect to see more of in the Galaxy S25 Ultra in particular is Galaxy AI. At its Galaxy Fold and Flip launch event this summer, Samsung already announced a second generation of AI features for its current handsets, bringing in new capabilities like AI image generation, while expanding existing features like AI call translation to more third-party apps. Something else that'll be interesting to watch will be to what extent, if any, Google's Gemini AI is built into the next generation of Samsung flagships. Right now, it's still not clear whether Google wants to make Gemini a fully fledged replacement for the old Google Assistant across the entire ecosystem, or whether it'll continue to be more of a Pixel exclusive perk. The most likely outcome, I think, is a little bit of Pixel exclusive time for some Gemini features before they're eventually opened up to some other flagships like the Galaxy line. But the exact timings still aren't clear, and remember, Samsung still technically has its own AI assistant in the form of Bixby. So it's going to be an interesting launch to watch, and potentially not just another year of more of the same from Samsung. A new design, potentially bringing some surprising far-reaching changes that could make the next Ultra easier to wrangle without hurting your hands. A big new CPU upgrade courtesy of Qualcomm bringing laptop-level power. And although the primary sensor might not boast a massive hardware upgrade this time around, the S25 Ultra should give a much-needed bump to the 3x and ultra-wide for a more balanced shooting experience. And while a lot of the software experience remains to be seen at this point, it's a safe bet to say more AI will be on the way, especially in the wake of Apple Intelligence and Google AI arriving later in 2024. That's it for now. Share your hopes and fears for the Galaxy S25 Ultra down in the comments, and stick around for more coverage as we await the launch of one of 2025's most important phones. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.